Have you ever been called mature for your age as a child? Most people hear that as a compliment. Psychology suggests it isn't always one. Sometimes a child seems unusually responsible not because they developed faster, but because life demanded more than childhood could hold. Years later, those same children become adults who struggle to relax, ask for help, or believe they deserve care. Not because they're weak, because survival taught them different rules. If that sounds familiar, you may recognize yourself in the patterns we're about to explore. Part 1. When love became something you had to earn. Some children grow up believing affection follows achievement. They notice praise arrives only after they solve problems, stay quiet, or meet expectations. Over time, the brain begins connecting worth with usefulness. As adults, this often looks like overworking, overgiving, and feeling uncomfortable when appreciated for simply existing. They don't chase success because they love success. Sometimes they're chasing the feeling of finally being enough. But that's only the beginning. One hidden habit often develops next, and it changes how they handle every relationship. Part 2. They mistake self-sufficiency for safety. Children naturally seek comfort, unless comfort keeps disappearing. When support feels unpredictable, asking for help starts feeling risky, so they stop asking. Not because they don't need people, because depending on people once ended in disappointment. Years later, they become the friend everyone relies on. Yet when someone offers help, their first instinct is often, "I'm fine," even when they aren't. Oddly enough, this independence creates another invisible cost that most people never notice. Part 3. Feeling useful becomes their identity. Many adults who grew up too quickly struggle to answer one simple question. Who am I when nobody needs me? If childhood revolved around solving crises, adulthood without problems can feel strangely empty. Peace feels unfamiliar. Silence feels suspicious. Their nervous system has learned to expect the next emergency, which explains why relaxing can feel harder than working. Part 4. They become experts at reading everyone except themselves. Psychologists often describe this as heightened emotional monitoring. Growing up around unpredictable emotions teaches children to scan every room. A change in someone's tone, a forced smile, a delayed reply. They notice everything. This sensitivity helps them avoid conflict, but it can also make them ignore the one person's emotions they understand the least, their own. And this leads to perhaps the most misunderstood consequence of all. Part 5. Receiving care feels unnatural. People assume kindness should always feel comforting. Not always. For someone who spent childhood taking care of others, being cared for can feel strangely uncomfortable. They wonder if they're asking too much. They apologize for small needs. They feel guilty resting while someone else is busy. The problem isn't that they reject love. It's that love still feels like something they have to deserve. Part 6. Healing begins. When the rules change. The child who grew up too soon learned rules that once made perfect sense. Don't be difficult. Don't need too much. Stay strong. Handle it yourself. Those rules protected them then. But adulthood gives them permission to write new ones. Rest is not laziness. Support is not weakness. Being cared for is not a debt. Psychology reminds us that survival strategies are not personality traits. They're adaptations. And adaptations can change. If you recognized yourself in these patterns, don't rush to label yourself. Instead, ask one question. Which part of you is still living by rules that belong to a child? Sometimes understanding the origin of our habits is the first real step toward letting them go. Which of these patterns felt the most familiar to you? Share your experience in the comments. Someone reading it may realize they're not alone.